Thanksgiving, little chefs! So yes, I realize that Thanksgiving isn't until next week. But if I'm going to teach you some Thanksgiving staple dishes, I have got to start early. So guess what we're going to cook today? I'll give you a hint. Gobble, 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 gobble. Sounds a lot like nom, 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 but that's the sound you make. Yes, I am here to save you from a Thanksgiving travesty! Nothing is worse than sitting down to a golden brown and delicious bird, but biting into dry meat. So I am going to teach you a simple recipe that will ensure a moist, delicious bird for your Thanksgiving. Preparations start 2 to 3 nights before you're ready to eat. If you're buying a frozen bird, like most people do, you want to make sure that that thing is completely defrosted at least a night before you start cooking. Now, to ensure that you've got a moist, delicious turkey for Thanksgiving, the most important thing is the brine. For a basic brine, you only need 3 things: salt, brown sugar, and ice-cold water.
For every gallon of liquid, you'll need a cup of salt and half a cup of brown sugar for a basic brine. To add more flavor, make sure that half of that liquid is vegetable stock. I also like to add a tablespoon of whole peppercorns, a teaspoon and a half of allspice berries, and a teaspoon and a half of chopped candied ginger.
But if you ask me, before you even start brining your turkey, you're going to want to make sure that you dissolve both the salt and the brown sugar, along with any additional flavors that you'd like to add to your brine.
To begin, you're going to want to add your vegetable stock to a medium saucepan over high heat. Then you're going to want to add your salt, the brown sugar, and then any additional spices that you'd like to add. Give it a few stirs at the beginning, and then you're going to want to let it come to a full boil.
Now, once our brown sugar and salt have completely dissolved into our brine, we're going to want to let that come up to room temperature and then store it in the refrigerator until you're ready to brine your bird.
Now you're going to want to make sure that you choose a container that can handle both the size of the bird and all of the liquid. You're going to want to make sure that the liquid covers the bird entirely, and I always start with the breast side down because that needs the most moisture, if you ask me.
Ah, the big day. Your bird is done with the brine and it's time to start cooking. So before we even get our bird into the oven, the first thing that we need to think about is, what are we going to put in it? And for our bird, we're going to use aromatics instead of stuffing. The aromatics that I have are very simple, will add a lot of flavor to your bird, and will make your house smell delicious. What we've got here is half an onion, an entire apple, and a cinnamon stick. Now I've let these soften a little bit by putting them in the microwave on high for 5 minutes with a cup of water. And to add some spices to the party, I'm throwing in a sprig of rosemary and some sage.
Go ahead and fill the cavity with all of those aromatics, and make sure you get that sage in there, Morgan. Now you're going to want to pat down your turkey with a paper towel until it's completely dry. Now, in order to promote browning, we're going to want to put a layer of fat on the skin. I've got a 1/4 cup of olive oil that I have added some chopped rosemary and some minced garlic to. It gives the skin a very, very delicious flavor.
Now to begin, we want to start with really intense high heat in order to promote browning. Then we're going to drop the temperature and allow for a slow roast. Well, our bird is done, and it's time to start making one of my favorite things aside from turkey: gravy.
Now we're going to start by just scraping the bottom of the pan just to loosen any chunks of deliciousness for our gravy. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of flour and mix that in for about 2 minutes. What it's doing here is it's absorbing all of the fat that came off of the turkey. Next, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of milk and half a cup of chicken stock that we heated up. Just go ahead and gradually incorporate that into the gravy. Once your gravy has come off the heat, this is very important, go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of butter. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi to the gravy. No, seriously, this is like an extremely French thing to do. And now let us all just behold the majesty of the bird and all of its juicy goodness.
And there you have it, the perfect turkey. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Gobble, 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 gobble.